Hey, what is up everyone? It is your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be going over 5 hero builds that are going to be very good in 7.27D. You know my boy BLOODSEEKER is back. We're going to be talking about him and 4 other heroes as well. And so yeah, if you guys are excited for this patch and this video, smash the like button. Absolutely break it, make it broken. And of course, subscribe to the channel, right? Subscribe to the channel. And one thing I want to mention before we get into the video is I want to ask you guys a question. Did you know that gameleap is currently 50% off? If you use the discount code DOTA50 right now, you're going to get 50% off. We don't do this all the time, and so really your best opportunity to get to the next level, to break through the current rank that you are and start to understand Dota on a higher level is right now. So you need to click the link down below, use the code DOTA50 when you go sign up, 50% off. That's crazy. That's half off. And now let's get into the video. Alright, so first off, I was not lying, we're talking about BLOODSEEKER. Once again, I don't think this hero is the best of the best, but it's getting there. Ever since the patch came out where his Q gives him like an absurd amount of attack speed and 30% spell amp now, the hero has had potential, and really the main changes of the patch were that his Q gives 15% spell amp at level 1 and 30% at max, which is a buff from the old 26% at max, and he takes less damage. It was 2.8% of his max health and max for the Q that he would lose, and now it's 2.5, which matters. Every little bit matters, especially considering he's spamming that spell. So he's using that spell over and over and over again. It adds up over time. Now, what is the item build that you should be going? Well, what you want to do is go a Wraith Band, Wand, into Treads or Phase Boots. Depends on the game. If you're farming a little bit more, go Treads. If you're fighting quite a lot, you feel like you need to catch up to people or they have a lot of physical damage, Phase Boots is the way to go. Now, after that, that's where things begin to get a little bit complicated. The first item that I think is good on BLOODSEEKER is Blade Mail. I actually really like this item in general for farming on the hero. The fact that it gives 28 damage is solid, gives quite a bit of armor, and most importantly, it gives you this 20% damage reflection on creeps, which just makes you farm them quite a bit faster, right? You just farm very fast, and a lot of damage on a hero that has a lot of attack speed, right? The damage you get from Blade Mail is just good, right? It's just good. It really is just a lot of damage. So I think the Blade Mail is very solid. And my opinion on BLOODSEEKERs, you really need to be able to follow up the Rupture in the early game. And often the issue with BLOODSEEKER is you're not that good at manning up in the early game. So what item allows you to do that? Well, it's Blade Mail. Now, after the Blade Mail, this is where things get weird. Honestly, you could have went Halberd in the past just to be unbelievably tanky and play around the Blade Mail active. But now I recommend you go Blade Mail into Maelstrom into BKB. Do not go Blade Mail Mjolnir BKB. I really think it's important you get to that BKB timing relatively early. You want to try to get it around the 23-minute mark with your Maelstrom and Blade Mail if possible, and you're going to pop off. Now, in terms of skill build, I still recommend you guys max out Thirst. Max out Thirst. Do not max the Q right away. You will not be able to sustain it. Even though it has been buffed multiple times now, you cannot sustain it. You need to max Thirst. I wouldn't even recommend necessarily taking the Q earlier than level 4 still. So yeah, you want that Blood Right, you want 2 points in Thirst just to heal up in a lane, maybe a point in Q early on. There's some speculation there that I've been having that it could be good at level 2 with Blood Right, but yeah, I think you can't sustain it. So max out Thirst, then max out the Q afterwards. Next up, let's talk about LESHRAC, which I think maybe was the most buffed hero of the patch other than BLOODSEEKER, for the reason that he got 40 HP at level 1, which can easily be the reason why he wins a fight or not getting him first blood, which is such a big deal on the laning stage. And his Pulse Nova radius was increased by 25, which is quite notable for farming and fighting. Now, what should you go on this hero? Nothing crazy. I just think the hero is getting better and better, and so if you spam Lesh, you will do well. What you want to do is go Null into a bottle. Sometimes you can just go a bunch of Nulls, but I think having the HP sustain is important. So I like Null into a bottle, into another Null, into Boots, then a bunch of mana regen items. You're going to have to buy raindrops potentially. You can buy a wand if you're going to be fighting a lot, right? If you plan on fighting, buy a wand. If you don't, you can skip it. The wand is just such an important item for the mid-game fighting. And then after that, you want to go Yules into Bloodstone, into Bots, into BKB. Now you can switch this up. You could go the Bloodstone first. Maybe, you know, it's just not one of those games where you're fighting at all and you can just rush a Bloodstone, farm a bit more. But for the most part, I'm a fan of Yules, Bloodstone, BKB, or Bots BKB. Once again, though, if you need that BKB earlier, go it earlier. If you need Yules BKB and the enemy team has a ton of magical damage, or you're against a Nyx or, you know, something like that, yeah, pick up that BKB. Don't skimp on the item. It's very important on Lesh, and I don't know why people don't buy it. Like, Lesh is just always go Yules, and then they go Ags and the Octarine. It's like, bruh, you need a BKB, you're just gonna die. Next up, we have CK, who received a lot of agility, and I mean a lot, helping out his laning station. I felt like for a while this hero has potential, and I actually expect it to get buffed again. I don't feel like this change will be enough, but considering the hero has very high base damage, getting this much agility and attack speed at level 1 is very strong, right? It makes the hero a much better trader that can actually trade without his E, and therefore I think this is a big change. Now the items that I recommend you go are Bracer into a Wand, or a Stick in the lane. You don't always have to rush the full Wand, it depends. But you go Bracer into Wand, or Bracer into Stick, or Soul Ring. You can go Bracer into Soul Ring. Soul Ring was just recently buffed, and this item is very good on CK. The armor is quite helpful. Your hero doesn't necessarily have that high of armor, so the armor is great. It gives you 6 strength and a lot of mana, which is good, and the Bracer helps you sustain it, right? Maybe even pick up a Stick and the Soul Ring just to really have infinite spells, which is super important on CK. You should be spamming your stun and your pull to make kill attempts happen consistently. That's what the hero does and should be doing. After that, you can go Treads into Midas. I really like having a bunch of stats before going the Midas just so I can brawl if needed. CK is very good at fighting early on, so I don't want to rush Midas and get rid of that power spike, so I like going all those stats into Midas, into Armlet, then into a Heart. You could also go items like Drums. Halberd is still very, very good. You could go with the Halberd in the right game. You could even go BKB if it's necessary, Manta if it happens to be good, but I think going Midas, Armlet, Heart is solid. It's a build that's going to work most games and carry you hard. Next up, we have URSA. Yes, URSA. The hero, you know, ever since his Q has gotten nerfed hard and a couple of other just number changes, the hero's fallen off, for sure. It went from maybe the best carry of the patch to primarily unpickable unless you have multiple good matchups. Like, let's say you have a good lane and a good anti-carry matchup. Maybe it's a Jug, right? Then you could pick the URSA. What I think you need to do is still look for that. I still think you need to look for those matchups. Frankly, I don't think URSA is good enough to be first phased anymore, like he was being. And what you do is you max out the W, max out the E. The W is recently buffed, where it's less mana early on. So you can use that in the lane to pop off, put a lot of pressure. You want to pick up that Orb of Venom so you can actually get all of your W attacks off. And then when you max out your W and your E, you actually do a lot of damage, and you farm quite fast as well, especially if you can pick up an Iron Talon. If you max out your W and E and you get an Iron Talon, what you can do is you can really start to flash farm very, very, very quickly. You can kill Ancient Camps from full, and that's a great value that you have. Now, you might be saying, well, Speed, where's my mobility? If I go Treads and max out the W, I'm just not fast. I need the mobility from the Q, right? Well, what you do, right? What you do is you buy Phase Boots, Drums, and a Windlace, or Phase Boots, Drums, and an Oov. And this is how you play. It's the old URSA. You go a lot of movement speed. It was actually the patch when URSA was going Phase Boots into Drums into Basher, or Phase Boots Basher, and you would just run around and punch people. That's what you want to do, right? You can even just go Phase Boots Wand into Basher. I think that build is fine as well. Do pick up a Wand, guys. I think it's way too important on a mana-starved hero like URSA. However, he also got a level 10 mana regen talent now, which I think you definitely want to be taking. So yeah, I think this is the build to go, and then after the Basher, get a BKB. Don't rush Abyssal most games. You should go Basher BKB, just because it's too important. You know, you do plenty of damage. You just need to get it off. And finally, the last hero we're going to be talking about is MEDUSA. MEDUSA recently was buffed. Her ulti mana cost was cut in half, which is not only good for the early game, it's also good for the mid-late game. That extra 100 mana could be the difference between winning the fight or not. You never know. She also got 2 base damage, which is quite notable. Now, what I'm going to recommend you do is consider going MEDUSA and Drow. This combination of heroes is dirty. Then, when you pick that, you need a lot of frontliners. You should have something like an offlane Tide or a Mars, something of the sort to protect them. A lot of frontliners to guarantee that MEDUSA and Drow can stay in the back and pump out damage. And if they can, and you can even pick up something like Avenge with it, oh my gosh, the damage is insane. Also, a couple things I want to note. Buy a lot of Wraith Bands. I think buying 3 Wraith Bands is fine. Also, you can consider a Quelling Blade, so you can have 3 Wraith Bands, a Quelling Blade into Treads, and that's totally acceptable. It's going to make you farm absurdly fast. After that, I recommend you pick up Treads into a Mask of Madness, into a Dragonlance. You could also go Phase. It depends on the game. If you feel like you really need mobility for whatever reason, maybe you're going to get kited, then sure, go Phase. But I really like going the Treads, Mask of Madness, Dragonlance build. Pick this up with the Drow comp, and you're going to pop off. Honestly, I don't even feel like MEDUSA's that bad either way. I feel like the hero's okay regardless. And so I think Mask of Madness, Dragonlance is the way to go right now. Then after that, you can go Scotty, you can go Hurricane Pike, you can go Butterfly if it's just one of those games where you're just farming a ton. Even BKB afterwards. When you have Mask of Madness Dragonlance, you do so much damage. Like, you'll be surprised, guys. If you buy these 2 items, you do so much damage. So buying a BKB after that is totally acceptable. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please smash the like button, subscribe. It's gonna help us out a ton. Before you leave, just want to say a quick message. If you're trying to get better at Dota or you just enjoyed that video, I know this is pretty general and you're gonna hear this quite a bit from me, but I recommend you sign up to gameleap.com. Why? Because I put a lot of effort into the content over there, and generally the effort I do there is different from the content you're gonna see here on YouTube. It is different. In fact, I usually go a lot more in depth on topics or into niche topics that help you get to the next level even faster. Because on YouTube, I often have to keep it more mainstream. And that's even why I'm putting it at the end of this YouTube video. That's why this is at the end, because a lot of people just watch 5 minutes, they skip through just for like the dopamine spike. But if you are interested in actually getting better at Dota, I recommend you go to the description down below. Do not forget 50% off on the GameLeap website right now if you want to become broken. Absolutely broken. Go sign up right now. So I'll see you guys there, and peace.